Okay, so this might be starting a part 2 of the video. I might be splitting this into 3 parts just in case I can't edit out that commercial. Thank you, YouTube, for that. That was wonderful. But yes, as I was saying, yeah, it seems like a weird design choice to not use a momentum-based system, but, we'll see how it goes. All right, Sonic's new tricks.
There are some exceptions, but combat in traditional...
No, don't just do that. Don't. You see what they did?
There are...
Don't just drop Werehog gameplay and compare it like it's the most intuitive thing ever here. Don't do that. Don't just be like they're selecting images from Werehog gameplay. I mean, I compare it to that. That's fair. But the way they're using it to introduce here, they're like comparing it to Frontiers. Frontiers combat is good. It's not Werehog good. Werehog combat was one of the best parts of the Werehog's gameplay, and I mean, one could argue it's because it's more ground oriented. But don't say that Frontiers combat is as good as Werehog combat. It needs some polish, but it's good for an aerial moveset. We'll see how it goes.
Some exceptions, but combat in traditional Sonic games generally isn't a thing that goes much deeper than jumping, rolling, or using a homing attack into enemies at the right time.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not true because they were having that natural evolution with Sonic 06, and it's fully realized in Project 06 because again, you can bounce off of enemies. You now have the option to like chain homing attack into bounce attack. You have the spin kick, which is a defensive maneuver that allows you to pass through enemies. You have all these different options, So the idea that Sonic can't evolve past that is false. He's done so in previous games. We're just choosing not to acknowledge it. That's the weird part of that, because it's with enemies that had like multiple hits. You would jump into them, perform a homing attack. Like in Project 06, it was fully realized for Sonic 06 because you could start with a jump, perform a homing attack, go into a bounce attack, just chain a bunch of different combos to sort of tear down the enemy's health, and it felt smooth to do that. It wasn't fully realized in the retail release, but with the fan-made re-release, it got better, proving that like when optimized, Sonic was allowed to do that. He didn't just have to rely on completely revamping his combat system. Although with the combat system, they're doing all right here. So continue with what you were saying.
Attack into enemies at the right time. That changes in Sonic Frontiers, which now has you fighting all sorts of wandering enemies and mini-bosses using an all-new array of incredibly flashy attacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all style and no substance, though. Sonic is able to quickly dodge using the bumper buttons on the gamepad, and by pressing...
So it is the bumpers. I was wondering about... Okay.
And mini-bosses using an all-new array of incredibly flashy attacks. It's not all style and no substance, though. Sonic is able to quickly dodge using the bumper buttons on the gamepad.
And I agree. So far with what I've seen, it's not all style and no substance. There is some depth there. It's not the most intuitive combat system I've ever seen. It's not the smoothest. It looks like it still might be a bit mashy, but there are enough options to keep it interesting. But yeah, I'm glad it's linked to the bumper buttons. It's likely... So I guess the quick step is omnidirectional now when you're not in run mode. Or in like the auto run mode. That's kind of interesting. That's good. I'm glad they did that.
And by pressing them together, he can even parry attacks with the right timing.
So there is a parry. Hang on, let me go back to that.
All style and no substance, though. Sonic is able to quickly dodge using the bumper buttons on the gamepad, and by pressing them together, he can even parry attacks with the right timing.
So I wonder if that's what we saw. If that was a parry where he jumped through it.
To quickly dodge using the bumper buttons on the gamepad, and by pressing them together, he can even parry attacks.
Because did this enemy get damaged here?
Using the bumper buttons on the gamepad,
no.
And by pressing them together, he can even parry attacks with the right timing.
So I'm guessing if you time both of the bumper buttons and you perform a parry, then it's kind of like the Smash Bros. Perfect Shield or the Shield parry in like Smash Bros. Ultimate, where you're able to parry an attack and then it doesn't actually damage the enemy, but it slows them down. That's an intuitive mechanic. See, like I've been saying, the combat seems like the biggest selling point of the game, and I do think they're doing a decent job with that so far. So credit where credit is due.
This homing attack also feels much more powerful, landing with a ton of impact and keeping Sonic stuck to his enemy, allowing for a flurry of follow-up strikes.
So basically, it's Shadow Chaos Attack from Sonic 06, which, who said that wasn't a good idea? It was obviously expanded upon, and when reached its full potential, like it was done right. Like everyone knew that was a good idea. That was a good combat option from the start. And yes, I agree. The homing attack does seem to have more of an impact. The sounds are the sound design for the attacking. I think it's appealing. I think there's mixed opinions on it. I think it's given him more impact. With when he attacks. So I do think that's a positive.
One of the things I really appreciate about the combat
The breakdancing like wind blade kick the sonic wind thing here, that this definitely seems good. So I'm like I said, stuff like this here. This is like that Dragon Ball influence. This is that anime style influence. This is the serious influence. More of this on Sonic, please. This is a good thing, Sega. This right here, I will give you.
From what I played, is that there are usually multiple ways to deal with specific enemies.
True.
Like, take for example this guy, who has an impenetrable shell that he can expand into spinning blades and throw at you. One way to deal with him is just to carefully time your homing attacks so you don't get hit by the blades. But if you do that, the window to damage him is small. To increase that window, you can either parry the blades and knock them away right before they hit you, or you can even use Sonic...
Wait, you can parry the blades? I don't think we've seen the parry mechanic yet. Maybe it's harder to land? Let me hear what he says again.
...is just to carefully time your homing attacks so you don't get hit by the blades. But if you do that, the window to damage him...
The question is, when you're attacking, can you... It looks like you can act out of anything. So if you can parry an attack right as it's coming when you're attacking, like there probably is a window of vulnerability that you have to like allow him a few frames to act out of it. But if you can parry the blades in that attack, that would be pretty cool too. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun. I'm down for that.
It's small. To increase that window, you can either parry the blades and knock them away right before they hit you, or you can even use Sonic's side loop ability to encircle the enemy, which causes the...
Is it actually called... Just call it spin cycle. Ribbon loop. I mean, it's, it's whatever.
...to go flying upwards. Defeating these enemies will reward you with EXP that you can use to purchase new skills from a skill tree, which gives Sonic Frontiers a really nice feeling of power progression.
Okay, so... And they did... Okay, so we mentioned skill... There's a skill tree, and it gives it a nice feeling of power progression. That implies they're doing the secret rings type thing, which, given the director of the game, since he worked on secret rings as well, I guess that makes sense. There was something like that for Black Knight, but yeah, no, so apparently there's a skill tree. Hopefully it's not as grindy as secret rings, but if they do it so there's not that much to do to actually unlock all the abilities, then that feels fine. And also he mentioned before that he played for, 4 hours, so that means there's at least he's played for 4 hours, and we haven't even seen that much, right? So that implies the game is at least 4 hours, meaning that there'll be a lot of content for this game, hopefully. That's what it's implying, so that's definitely good. We want a longer game, a more in-depth Sonic game, as a 3D adventure. But yeah, let me go over the skill tree thing he mentioned again.
Defeating these enemies will reward you with EXP that you can use to purchase new skills from a skill tree, which gives Sonic Frontiers a really nice...
So it costs experience to purchase new skills from the skill tree. So skill tree is confirmed. That was in another leak. That's been confirmed too. Looking pretty good for supersonic bosses. Maybe Tails, Knuckles, and Amy playable. We're not sure about that one because that emerged a bit late. That surfaced a bit late. And perhaps even hypersonic, but that's a bit of a stretch. Things are looking hopeful for that. I hope that is the case because that would add a lot of replay value to the game. We'll see what happens.
Feeling of power progression, even in just the relatively short amount of time that I played. Some of the later skills that you can get are just unbelievably cool, and it's super satisfying to see Sonic Team experiment with different ways that Sonic can attack enemies beyond just spins, jumps, and bumps.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Now, I will say that...
some of the later skills that you can get are just...
That animation still needs work. Like, again, I get that that's probably Lightspeed attack, but...
In just the relatively short amount of time that I played. Some of the later skills that you...
Like, we've been over this. Instead of just, having a 2 to 4 frame animation where it's like, zip, I'm suddenly over here, why not have him do, that could be a supersonic animation where he flies backwards. And that was probably the implication. I mean, I guess one could argue there's not much logic to Lightspeed attack because he sort of just zips backwards, so that's not that big a deal. But have him do a couple of backflips when he's base Sonic, and then have him do the zip backwards animation where he's flying as Supersonic. That makes more sense. This definitely seems like a rush move and very Dragon Ball Z-like, and that's good. Again, we want more of that influence.
You can get are just unbelievably cool, and it's super satisfying to see Sonic Team experiment with different ways that Sonic can attack enemies beyond just spins, jumps, and bumps.
And,
in addition to these
just
smaller
polish the
enemies,
attacks.
there are also a handful of enormous world bosses that I had to contend with. These are near Shadow of the Colossus-esque in their scale, with one in particular against a beast named Asura, requiring Sonic to bait the Titan to slam the ground, and then boost up its arm in order to reach the weak spot.
So this is just stereotypically called Ashura, so it's just or Asura, so it's just a generic demon enemy. Because I think that just means devil in Japanese. But, like, so he's talking about the Titan enemies here.
Enormous world bosses that I had to contend with.
This can't be a world boss, right? This is it's just a big enemy. Because this isn't nearly as big as the giant enemy we saw in the trailer.
These are near Shadow of the Colossus-esque in their scale.
This one doesn't seem that big. It doesn't seem bigger than Perfect Chaos. Come on, like that's small building size. Like Chaos was, like they're saying, Sonic's fighting the biggest baddies he ever has. Chaos and Biolizard were building sized. Metal Overlord was like starship sized or like airship sized. Devil Doom was on that level too. Solaris was like, he was probably bigger than that, and like Dark Gaia probably even bigger than that. Like multiple buildings, like unfathomably tall. Like Solaris and Dark Gaia were probably the biggest ones. And like the Titans that we saw in the trailer, like they're probably, they're likely like the biggest ones, and they're likely not showing that off. This seems like sort of a mini boss. Like if the big enemies are like the big bosses here, or like if the big enemies are like the mini bosses, we haven't seen like the biggest ones yet. This enemy right here is probably like the Angel Island Act 1 boss equivalent, if like there's Titan-sized enemies or Behemoth-sized enemies for bosses. So that's what I'm thinking here.
With one in particular against a beast named Asura, requiring Sonic to bait the Titan to slam the ground and then boost up its arm in order to reach the weak spots on its head. It's an ambitious boss battle, far beyond anything I've seen in the Sonic series to date. But
okay, well, you know that's not true. This is ambitious? No. I mean, it's more ambitious than what they've been doing, but, it's about time they did something that was at least this good. Like, you think about the entire battle with Dark Gaia, from Sonic in base form to Chip in the Gaia Colossus form, and then like the big combination attack between him and Super Sonic at the end. I mean, you think about the idea of like the clock running out and then fighting the Bio Lizard on the outside. Like, think about the boss fight with Metal Overlord. Like, that was huge. And even like some of the bosses in Sonic Heroes, like you still had to like all three members attack simultaneously. Like Egg Albatross was a huge boss fight. Like, that was massive. It's like the three of them still had to work together to take down big bosses. Like, there have been ambitious boss battles before that aren't just, running in a straight line. And it bothers me that they've forgotten, like, a lot of those examples. I think about, like, the big boss, like the Dark Gaia bosses that Sonic took on in the night stages in Unleashed. And it bothers me that, like, Sonic has his combat system, he has finishers, but where are the options to do, like, quick time events, where if you do enough successful combos, you'll be presented with a button prompt. You could do like more button combos. Maybe that's like a later unlockable ability. I hope they said there's more skill tree abilities, so let's hope that's the case. But anyway, he mentions there's some issues with this boss battle, and I do agree with what he's saying here. You'll see.
Also the part of the game that needs the most work. Far too often, I'd fly off the boss's arm without knowing why, or I'd get to the top and for some reason lack the momentum needed to actually reach the head. Sonic must hunt down and defeat these bosses in order to collect portal gears, which...
I mean, okay, so he gets flung off and it looks like he can climb up here. But not having enough momentum, that's just you didn't go through enough blue rings, I think. We didn't see any example of that. Because the blue rings boost you forward, the red rings push back your momentum.
Or I'd get to
they
the
reverse
top
the
and
momentum.
for some reason lack the momentum needed to actually reach the head. Sonic must hunt down and defeat these bosses.
Because we saw him fall off the arm. Okay, that I like. I do like the idea that since he has a double jump, if you're flung off, you can sort of change your trajectory mid-jump. I guess fans will feel like that's kind of mixed, but I don't know. And it looks like, it does look like he has the ability to not just fall randomly, he can cling to the enemy.
In order to collect portal gears, which open up portals that lead to bite-sized linear stages.
Yeah, he can boost up.
Style of previous Sonic games. giving Sonic Frontiers
So
a
those
nice
hurt
mix
him.
of both old and new styles.
There are multiple ways to tackle these bosses, but let me go back to what he said briefly here about the portal gears to open up, because this is where he's going to talk about how to get into the what we assume are the cyberspace levels and how to get the Chaos Emerald. So listen carefully to what he says in this bit.
To the top, and for some reason lack the momentum needed to actually reach the head.
So listen here.
Sonic must hunt down and defeat these bosses in order to collect portal gears, which open up portals that lead to bite-sized linear stages.
Now, so the portal gears. Now, remember when he did the spin cycle around a few days in the gameplay we saw a few days ago around its feet? Now, it looks like you can, if you just defeat it normally, you get one gear, I guess. But if you run around its feet and then homing attack it, you can get a few extra gears. So portal gears, kind of like using the emeralds to power the gears in like the last boss for Generations. But yeah, he was saying he needs to collect those gears too.
To collect portal gears, which open up portals that lead to bite-sized linear stages, done in the
bite-sized linear stages. So these are likely the cyberspace levels. If they're bite-sized, Premi was also mentioning if they're shorter than Forces, that's kind of a problem. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess with all the rest of the content that's here, it's somewhat enough. But I still wish there would be... I hope there are at least relatively lengthy, dedicated action stages. And I hope when they say bite-sized, they don't mean like 30 seconds, like the extra stages that were in Forces, because that would really be a letdown. I'm hoping that they have lengthy enough challenges to at least provide us with some level of entertainment.
The style of previous Sonic games, giving Sonic Frontiers a nice mix of both old and new styles. These classic levels each come with a handful of optional goals, like beating the level under a certain time, collecting all the red rings, and so on, with each goal rewarding you with a vault key, which are neat.
Okay. All right, so there's replayability value. I hope that doesn't mean repeating them over and over, and you could go for it on a single go and just see how many you could get. So completing the level. So he said there's completing the level. There's completing it under a certain amount of time, and then there's collecting. Did he say red rings? I think he said red rings.
Goal rewarding you with a vault, all the red rings, and so on, with each goal rewarding you with a vault key. Which
vault key. So that's taken from Generations. I guess that's okay. Because remember, you needed the 3 boss gate keys to unlock the main boss of an era. And the vault keys unlock what now?
Which are needed to unlock the coveted Chaos Emeralds.
Okay. So this right here, when you defeat... So yeah, it looks like for every one you defeat, you get a one of these portal gears. If you can get more of them by using the spin cycle on certain areas, so experiment with enemies to get as many as you can. The big enemies drop portal gears. Portal gears unlock the cyberspace levels. That's probably what they are. Completing a cyberspace level will net you a vault key. Completing it in a certain amount of time will net you a vault key. Collecting all the collectibles in the level, the red star rings, which I guess are more traditional modern Sonic influence levels. Collecting all the red star rings will give you a vault key. So all 3 of those give you a vault key. And the vault keys, he's saying, are needed to unlock Chaos Emeralds. I'm hoping there's like a bigger, more expansive special stage as a result. So, I mean, I guess from what it implies there, he said, like we heard in leaks, there are 28 of those levels. So maybe it's a colors deal where you complete the objectives for each of them. I'm hoping it's like complete the small objectives as action stages, and then the vault keys unlock like bigger levels, and those are kind of special stage-esque, and you're able to get the Chaos Emeralds as a result. Kind of hoping the Chaos Emeralds do more as you get each one. Like maybe they unlock some new combat abilities for Sonic. That'd be kind of cool. Some elemental combat abilities, like with the ideas I'm having with my team for Sonic Elements. Game coming soon, ayo. Yeah, more news on that soon, I promise. But it's going to be a little while. We need to iron out some details with that. But I always like the idea of emeralds being used individually and then building up to a super transformation. But I kind of like that. That seems like an interesting way to get the emeralds. That doesn't seem too grindy. I'm hoping it will unlock more abilities, but yeah, we'll see. That's what they look like.
Sonic Frontiers is an exciting new step forward for the Sonic series into uncharted territory, and based on my time with it, Sonic Team seems to have hit upon a winning formula. There's certain...
Yeah, it's a winning formula because it was the adventure formula. It's like... They had this winning formula from the start. That's what we, the adventure fans, have been saying for years. And the idea that it's taken them this long to go back to it is obnoxious, and even now there's evidence that they're not getting it right. I'm hoping that since this is an early build, it's like we're going to see better quality gameplay as time goes on with more reveals. They're showing us a lot of the gameplay, but it's like the earlier build gameplay. So the combat's fine. These ideas for the ways that you unlock the new levels in the Chaos Emerald sound fine. Some of the animation needs polish, and that's about it. The main issue still remains. We need momentum-based gameplay because that's going to be a major issue, and people are going to have an issue with it because if it's an open world, and it's saying they're trying to give the impression of it's fun to run around in. If it's fun to run around in its open world gameplay, then please explain to me why you're not using the formula that worked for a more open world or pseudo open world Sonic in Adventure, and I'll explain that momentarily. But let me let him finish.
Certainly still work to be done before it's released during the holiday season. There's a lot of distracting pop-in, there's a fair amount of bugs still left to be squashed.
Okay, so he admits there's bugs, he admits that the pop-in isn't intentional.
And the big boss fights could do with some tweaking. But ultimately,
I feel like they could be able to. They would probably be able to tweak that by the holiday release. If this is an earlier build, depends on how early it is. We don't know.
my time with this early build answered the one question I had on my mind. Will Sonic's one-of-a-kind gameplay translate into an open world? The answer is a resounding absolutely. Thanks.
I sure hope you're right about that, because I'm not convinced yet with what I've seen. I need to see more.
For watching, and tune into IGN for more Sonic Frontiers coverage as part of IGN First. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Alright, is that it? The tricks definitely need some work with the animations. So I guess, yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, that looks like it. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to analyze then. Whoops. But see, here's the thing. So ultimately, I guess with what's analyzed here, they didn't really provide us with much more. We did get some more details from his impressions with, like we got some information about how you're supposed to activate the cyberspace levels, how completing those and the objectives there will give you vault keys, which help unlock the Chaos Emeralds. If there's 28 total, let's see. If there's 28 total and that leak is true, and there's 7 Chaos Emeralds, 28 over 7, so that means you would need 4 vault keys per Chaos Emerald. Seems reasonable. But then again, no, not necessarily. There's 28 levels, and there's 3 objectives per level. Wait, so do you need an increasing number of vault keys for emerald? That seems like it would be very, very grindy, but it could still work. I don't know. The ways of unlocking the Chaos Emeralds in the cyberspace levels, those sound pretty interesting. They need more variety with the big boss fights. I'm guessing, because we saw that other type of boss fight that was a reference to the levitated ruin platforming in the Sonic Central video, in the previous video here. And so far we've seen 2 types of, I guess, big boss enemies so far. But those just seem like mini bosses. I don't know if we've seen the big bosses, but yeah, I don't know. It's it still seems kind of strange. I feel like, the cyberspace levels seem interesting. The emeralds, the Chaos Emeralds, and the way you get them seem interesting. So I think those are good so far. Depends on what we see. The bosses do need some work. I feel like they need more variety in the bosses. They need, they have this very intuitive combat system for Sonic, which is definitely good. The animations on it need some work, but the combat system is good. Let us use that more, and let us use it more often with more bosses. It seems okay now. I get how early bosses might provide sort of an easy blend of like that running up the arm and then dealing damage, and that's okay. But I'd like it mainly to focus on the combat system since that seems to be the main appeal of the game. The main issue still remains. The exploration is not feeling great, and the reason is because, 1, Sonic feels kind of slow. The controls feel stiff. And 2, because there's not a great sense of momentum. Now, I've been talking this entire time about adventure formula and why particularly adventure formula is what Sonic needs in a fully 3D world. So, because it gives him It translates the original physics from the 2D games into a 3D style, and that felt great. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, let me go ahead and show you a few examples. We're right here in Sonic Adventure, right? Now, just with running around, like, I can tilt the analog stick, like this is idle animation. I tilt the analog stick, this is walking. I tilt it a bit more. He has sort of a jog animation, so you can control Sonic's speed. I tilt it all the way, and he's running at maximum speed. And just look at how I, I feel like I have good control around the camera. And, I'm having him run in a circle, kind of like that spin cycle we see in Frontiers. He's running in a circle. This is more or less he has some limits in this world. This is why I say it's pseudo 3D. But with Adventure, you have the cars keep getting in the way. I apologize. But it feels like all of his movements are deliberate. You feel like there's a good sense of speed when he's running around. You feel like you can increase that speed. You feel like when he's moving around, it's like this would be an easier way to capture enemies. I guess that's the speed is fine for the spin cycle. That's about the same as Adventure. But the reason that boost feels weird, I guess it can kind of function the same like with the boost dash. But you see with spin dash, I mean, say, let's translate spin dash to spin cycle, for example. It's like I feel like I have much better control of the circular 3D movement here. And I feel like I can get up to speed much faster since I can spam spin dash like that, right? And going down a hill, let's go into Speed Highway, for example. You feel like you have a much less sense of momentum in Sonic Frontiers. But in Speed Highway, let's not hit the dash pads. Let's run down a hill here. I'm holding forward, and see how he increases speed to his max speed run there, right? And the boost is fine for running uphill there. The spin dash kind of translates. But see, let's say I just let go of the analog stick. Even then, he's still gaining momentum. Tails was kind of in the way there. But he's still... Oh, whoops. I want to do this from a starting point. But see, he's gaining... I'm not holding anything. He is gaining momentum downhill automatically because gravity gives him that impression. I'm just going to restart here real quick. But, and another thing is, the reason spin dash is so helpful is because, I just tap spin dash. I'm not holding anything. I'm gaining speed and momentum downhill. That's what Sonic fans want in the game. You see Sonic in open world, and even this is just a basic stage. It feels good. I held nothing there. Look, watch again. I didn't even touch the dash pad. I spin dash. I hold nothing. He's gaining speed going downhill. We don't have that feel in Sonic Frontiers. That's the kind of movement option that we need. And of course, you notice once again, it's like, oh, but he needs boost to go uphill. No, no, he doesn't. Because when he's going back uphill. Well, that was kind of spline oriented. Oh, Sonic Adventure moment. But he can't really gain speed going uphill when he's walking. He shouldn't be able to. That's a sense of gravity. It's a sense of momentum. If you spam spin dash, you can sort of get back up and do that and everything. And now I'm just gonna that's the feeling of momentum that we should have going downhill. I just started up Sonic Adventure, went into a random stage, went into Speed Highway, and already I have a better sense of momentum than I feel in Sonic Frontiers. Sonic Frontiers is open world. This game was the first step into open world. The adventure fields feel somewhat like Sonic 06. I could boot up Sonic Project 06 right now, and I could show you the same thing. Even in that game, it's less because it's combat oriented. That's probably a better example since Sonic Frontiers is combat oriented. But I give you that example. That's what we see in Sonic Adventure, in Sonic Project 06, in Sonic Battle R. All of those. We that's the idea for the momentum-based gameplay that we want. And that's what they need to have in Sonic Frontier. So I'm hoping that that's what we see when the game is in later builds of the game. I hope that's the case. I just want to go into Twinkle Park here to demonstrate something else that's not the biggest deal, but it should be present in an open-world Sonic game. Now, I could just homing attack this enemy, and that's a way to take him out. But look at what I can do. See, I have Sonic Spin Jump. I just tap the Spin Jump, and I can kill the enemy like that. And he doesn't uncurl from the jump. I'm going to restart again. That was just a tap jump. It's not the best movement in 3D, of course, because the enemies keep moving around, which is why you have the combat options. But say you just wanted to bounce off of an enemy. You know, I could run into this enemy, I can tap jump, and I can still get him. You know, and with this enemy, I could do a big jump, hold the jump button. Sorry, he's kind of out of my camera range, but I'd hold the jump button. I can bounce on him, and you know, the enemy bounce I would say wasn't perfect in Sonic Adventure, but the point is like there's still a bit of enemy bounce you can gain, and I like the idea of getting that from spin jump. So the whole idea of like momentum downhill, momentum with spin dash, spin jumping onto enemies, which I am still worried they haven't fixed. Because what if you, and like I don't even know if tap jump is gonna count as a hitbox, because I want to be able to like be running at an enemy, tap jump and have that still count, right? Tap jump and still count, and I want to do like a full jump, bounce on an enemy in an emergency, and be able to like gain momentum from that, or like spin dash jump into an enemy and gain some extra height. Like that was good because those were all classic moves. Spin dashing downhill, that's classic physics. Gaining momentum downhill without holding anything, classic physics. Adventure did this right, and this was a pseudo open world game. It was the first step to open world for Sonic, and even to something as simple as like the turning radius, the sense of higher speed and a wider turning radius, and of course feeling like you have more control over the turning radius with something like spin dash, which you know can this can kind of represent the spin cycle. You see, all of these things matter, but that's like when Sonic fans are complaining about momentum, that's what they mean. Like the biggest problem for Sonic Frontiers is the idea that since they've built it around Lost World forces, since they've carried that over from previous games, like the momentum, this ain't it, Chief. And like that's going to be a big letdown. That's already going to dock the game like 2 points if they don't fix that. And I don't think they can fix it by the release date. They can fix the animations. They'll polish up the combat a bit, polish up the enemies. We have yet to see our impressions of the cyberspace levels and the bite-sized, as they call them, levels. But I don't know. You know, it's like I feel like they need to polish the momentum. I hope in the later builds they have, because otherwise, I feel like we're going to be in trouble. Like Sonic Team, Sega, please, if you're going to listen to us at any point in time and you want to make a good official entry, listen to us now, because this right here, this kind of movement, this is what we want in 3D open world. The sense of speed and the sense of control over Sonic's turning radius, proper spin jump that damages enemies, the sense of speed you can get from like building up spin dash, and that's not even me spamming it like fully as I was before. All of that, we need all of that, because this was what open world Sonic was, and darn it, it worked. We need this back. And you know, people are just going to say that I'm overemphasizing adventure formula. I've had some friends say, well, newsflash, pal, they haven't used adventure formula in years. I'm like, yes, and that's the problem, and it's because this is an open world 3D Sonic game. If they don't use it here, then when? They have to bring back this feeling of momentum, because if they don't do that, it's not going to feel like a proper open world Sonic game. So many of us are asking, we implore you, Sega, if you have to delay it, we'll understand. But even if you don't delay it, if you're like, you know, I don't know if a delay will fix it, but in the 6-month time, if you can fix that momentum, that's the biggest thing right now. We need to see more of the gameplay, see if it ties together, but right now, it feels like the interaction with bosses, the variety of bosses. I don't know enough about the story to give judgment yet. I hope it's good. I hope the world reflects that. It seems to be so far. Polish up the music to give more of a rock vibe, more of an action vibe if it's action-based gameplay. And since it's open world, open zone, you need to have this kind of momentum. This kind of momentum. This kind of momentum. One more time, just demonstrating the importance of Speed Highway, in case like it's unknown. Sonic Frontiers doesn't have the right kind of momentum. What we need, I forgot to mention Jump Dash. Even Jump Dash, like Sonic's Boost Dash just feels like the air boost. Like what you need, it feels like this carries his momentum a bit more. Sure, he's locked at a certain speed, but it doesn't feel like he just drops like he does in Unleashed and Generations, the other boost games. It feels like he deliberately carries his momentum with Jump Dash. But the momentum you want in Sonic Frontiers, Spin Dash, not holding anything, this. He increases speed. That kind of momentum. That's what we want. I don't know how else to emphasize it. This is why the adventure formula is so important for open world, or open zone if you must, 3D Sonic. It's that kind of momentum. Let me show you again, just to emphasize it. Since, you know, do it like Show by example, right? What do we want, Sonic Team? What do we want for open world momentum in a Sonic game? Tails, get out of the way. I spin dash, I hold nothing. He increases speed. That, right there, what you just saw, that kind of momentum is what we want for 3D Sonic. That is what we want for 3D Sonic, especially if it's open world. I cannot stress how important this is. Many of my friends have agreed. Many other Sonic YouTubers have agreed. If there was ever time to speak out about momentum, it is here and now. So please, Sega, Sonic Team, Iizuka-san, hear our pleas, because if you are insisting that you have it with this game, if you're going big and going open world, it seems like you have more content. In order to make running around the open world feel fun, that's what you need. I feel like it needs to be padded out with a few more enemies as well. I feel like we need some more boss battles, but the biggest concern is how the momentum will feel. Please, please, please give Sonic his spin dash back. He can have the boost too, but please give him his spin dash back. Give him a sense of gravity, of downhill momentum, because that needs work. It doesn't have to be a lot more, but as long as it's noticeable and we can roll and gain momentum, it is going to mean a lot. So I saw a post on a recent Tails channel video about how, Sega, you're always listening. Well, if you're listening, this is a time to listen. Many fans are calling for this. They're calling for delays for this reason. If you feel you don't need to delay it because you have a later build that's ready and there's momentum present, it better have this kind of movement. Because if you're doing open world, there is a correct way to do it. There is a morally absolute correct way to do it. And, once again, it is this. Not holding anything, gaining momentum. That's what we want. That is what we want. Gaining momentum downhill. Without the automation, you gain the momentum. You need the sense of gravity, the sense of momentum. Anyway, that's going to do it for these videos. That's all I really wanted to say. I hope these examples get through. I hope this is what many are hoping to hear. But what do you guys want to see out of Sonic Frontiers? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think so far? Do you have hope for this game? I'm neutral, somewhat positive about some aspects, but we had to address the elephant in the room. It needs to be addressed here and now. If there is a later build with more momentum, please let it have spin dash. Please let this be the feel of it. Anyway, I'm Lightning Thunderbolt. We're signing off for now. Tune in Friday on the channel for some new content regarding a new game that we're going to play. It was in the Sage catalog last year. Celebration of Sonic Omens. What am I saying? Not Sonic Omens. Sonic Origins coming out soon. And us likely going to be able to feature that on the channel. That's likely what we'll do for the 800 sub special. I think that would be good, but let me know what you all think. Do you want to see a different game? Do you want to see some returning games? But yeah, just want to say I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that we're about only 10 subs away from 800. Thank you all for getting us to this point. I hope you're enjoying the content, and I hope you want to see more, so I can continue to do what I love, because I love making this for you guys. I'd love to turn this into a career, and I'd love to go even further beyond than just YouTube. I'd love to do work for Sega, help make the actual franchise and the games better. But I as you know on the channel, I've done voice acting bits before, but it's all about spreading awareness and all about doing what I can. And if the videos I've done here make even one person happy, then I feel like I've done my job. Anyway, it's getting pretty late for me. These videos will be uploaded overnight, so this gameplay was done. The gameplay reveals that we saw on IGN were done yesterday at the time of this recording, so you'll be seeing my reactions the next day. I will put the links to all the videos mentioned in the description. The gameplay shown from the videos from Sonic Central and from the IGN Frontiers reveal is obviously not mine. That belongs to Sega, Sonic Team, and IGN. And, of course, I'll be putting this in the description as well. The Sonic Adventure gameplay is, of course, my own from the Sonic Adventure PC Steam version with the Steam mod loader, and I'll put the references to and the credits to everyone who helped make this the definitive version of Sonic Adventure in the description, just to make sure everyone gets properly credited. Anyway, I'm exhausted. I'm Lightning Thunderbolt. Hope you all enjoyed the content. Tune in Friday for more. And as always, until next time, keep on staying way past